Derrik Gottfrid.
Derrik Gottfrid is the VP of Engineering or Product.
Yes. Oh, yesterday I was engineering, today I was product, but it's actually I don't know the product of engineering.
Awesome. So, because our students are, we say, what you want to say. Some of our students are still in high school, what we ask our speakers to do, which is helpful, to just go back in their story to high school, because they can identify with that a little bit and frame things from there. But then, or as far back as you want that as. And just go forward and let's talk about your past and schooling and how it went and where you are now too.
Sure. Great. So I run the product engineering groups here at Tumblr, along with some other random stuff that they let me do. But I really became interested in technology when I was about 6th grade. It's funny, my daughter out there, we was in 6th grade. I went to her school earlier this week to talk to their staff about the technology program and whether it's working or not. And I really think of myself having a lot of opinions about what works in school and what doesn't. Turns out I actually had a lot more opinions than I thought I might. But really, when I was in 6th grade, there was literally $100. So I told my daughter I was going there, and she said, Papa, did they even have computers when you were in 6th grade? Well, sure it wasn't on a typewriter. I was like, all right, thank you. But there was this computer you could buy for $100, which was a considerable amount of money, but I saved every dime I had. It was the kind you hooked up to your TV. I hooked it up to a black and white TV. And that's how I really learned how to, there was no one, and my dream was, as I told my younger brother, I am going to learn how to program this computer, and I will make games. And the girls in the neighborhood will love me forever because I will have the best video games ever. So, this was probably
that's how it works.
I mean, maybe you guys are better than me, but this plan did not play out at all. I did end up making some games. The girls did not flock to hang out at my house because of the games. But I got really addicted to it. But I started, there wasn't a lot of great resources when I was a kid. So I used to buy these magazines, and you'd have to type the program from the magazine into your computer. And that's how you would figure out how to do stuff. Literally, you just have to sit there and retype the program, and then you'd get a game. And every month, the magazine would come, and then you'd type it in, and you'd have this little game. And then finally, when I got to high school, I didn't really have a great high school, and I wasn't a great student at all. But I had one computer course that I took that basically, I haven't really learned anything since then. I didn't learn anything before that, but it was really, I took one class from a guy named Don Momberg, very nerdy guy, just lots of nerds. I didn't really like him too much, but he was kind of mean, but I learned so much in that class that when I went to college and everything else I did really goes back to that class. I mean, everything I know about data structures, algorithms, structured programming, programming changed a lot, but it really kind of gave me the foundation for it. So I went to college. I didn't really do very well in college either. So don't follow all these guys.
And you become a VI.
School is a little bit difficult. One of the things I really liked about programming and technology is it felt really real. So school felt a little distant, but one of the things I loved about technology is I could actually make the little thing move across the screen the way I wanted it, or have it in someone's hand. It felt very tangible, whereas school felt a little distant. So I graduated from college. I didn't really know what to do. I spent a summer in Newark helping local Latinos learn about computers and the internet, which was pretty eye-opening. It was before the internet really had become a thing. It was 1993, so I was before you guys were born. So there's a program called AmeriCorps, which I don't know, does anyone know what AmeriCorps is? So before that, they had a program called Summer of Service. So I was with the inaugural program of Summer of Service. Literally, this is the craziest thing I did. I graduated college, I chased a girl halfway around the world, and it really worked out. But I came home and my mom was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, well, Bill Clinton said he's giving people like summer jobs or something. And I was like, but I hadn't paid attention to the news or anything. But I literally wrote a letter, Dear Mr. President, I hear that you're helping people with jobs and like I have a college degree and whatever. So I sent it off. And literally like 2 months later they called me and they're like, would you go to Newark and help out? I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. So I spent all summer trying to teach, and I'm not super well. I don't think I was much of a success. Trying to teach people in Newark how to use the internet, how to use computers. Oddly enough, in the fall, I get a call from the White House saying, hey, how was your experience? Would you come to the White House and talk to us? So literally, there's this like very goofy picture of me. I look like I'm 12. I have the one white shirt that I own at the White House talking about the internet and where I think it could go. I also then asked for another job, and I never heard from the president again. So this was a one-shot deal. I got a job after that working, making golf course reservation software. I don't actually know anything about a golf course or tee times or reservations. So at first, the job, like I had to start in the kind of customer service area and help people. They quickly realized that I wasn't a person that was very customer service oriented, so I got promoted to just writing code. Because people would call up and they would cry after talking to me, like they'd entered like, months and months of reservations that they were saying, and I would just be like, well, you did it wrong, and so of course they got deleted. But by then I was totally hooked into programming. The internet was starting to become a thing, and I spent probably the next few years kind of bouncing around the country, working with different internet places. Then I finally spent 10 years at the New York Times, building all the internet stuff that they have, working across the teams. And it was great. I learned a ton. I learned how to work in big companies, how to use technology. Ultimately, I, about 3.5 years ago, sent an email to a 21-year-old high school dropout named Derrik Gottfrid, who's now my boss, and asked him if I could come work with him. And at the time, there was about 10 people that worked here. But I had met David once before and was just shocked by the product that he had put together. So if you spend any time on Tumblr, it's a very different kind of site. I loved it. I thought it was so cool. And at that time, I could tell that it was reaching, hundreds of millions of people a month. And he only had 10 people working here. So my whole thing is if I ever, wanted to do anything in my life, there's only 2 things I really wanted to do. Work on the coolest thing I could ever work on, whatever it is. It had to be something that was super interesting. And I wanted it to have a huge impact, right? So if I had any musical ability, I would have been like a music person, right? Like, think about the coolest musician and the impact they have, right? Doesn't matter who it is, just someone that you love, right? I have absolutely no musical ability, but I did have this ability with technology to kind of build things and then able to affect and reach out to people. So when I met David, I said, that's a cool product, and he's reaching millions of people. And people thought I'm crazy too, because I had this big job at the New York Times, and it was like, a big foreign company. And I love what the Times does. They have a great product. They inform and set the news and the agenda for most of the free world. But it's such a big organization, it was really hard to have a huge impact. And the thing that I had pretty much every job at the time, because you're there for 10 years, you get to do everything. But I did everything on the digital and digital strategy. So trying to figure out how a newspaper should exist on the internet.
Did you work with James Nixon?
Yep. I think he's at CNN now. He went south. over the last 3 years, I've been fortunate enough to help grow the team here from, I don't know, 200 people now or something like that. We've sold the company to Yahoo for a ridiculous amount of money. But we're still really focused every day on building a product that hopefully hundreds of millions of people will use. And it's that early kind of impact that I go back to, whether it was trying to figure out how to get girls to come over to my house by like doing something cool in technology or affect the lives of like 100 million people. It's really been kind of the constant like excitement of if you can kind of master this technology, it's the only thing that replicates in a way that is so meaningful and tangible, unless you're going to be a musician or a writer. When you think about everybody else and what technology represents, to go out and touch the lives of all these people. So we have a very small team that writes the iPhone app. Really, it's like 3 guys, and at times it's been 2. And every morning, these guys write, they wrote the code that every morning someone reaches over their iPhone, and there's, a couple million people that look at it every morning. They're able to impact the lives of 2 million people every morning. And so, to me, that's super exciting. That's the thing that still gets me going in the morning to figure out how do we make a product, do something that has the ability to influence 1 million people. And mastering these basic skills when I was younger and refining them and adapting them and reinventing them as the technology changed has been super rewarding to me. You think about all the people that are super enabled in the App Store today, right? You can write a great app. How empowering is that? I think, I was just trying to impress like 3-year-olds in the neighborhood, right? But now it's like a huge impact. That would have been on the world. This, now what we get to do and the opportunity for anybody with these skills is able to reach out and affect hundreds of millions of people. So, I don't know. I think it's, those people that are drawn to that and have the kind of mindset, the ability to have huge impact, I think is one of the things